When discussing the gold standard for healthy eating, people usually point to Italy or Greece. But if you draw a line between those two culinary giants and stop right here, you land on the Dalmatian coast of Croatia. This map of the Eastern Adriatic Sea shows why. For centuries, this stretch of coastline acted as a busy intersection. Roman, Venetian, Greek, and Slavic trade routes all converged directly on these shores. Because it was constantly changing hands, Dalmatia absorbed the best elements of its neighbors. It took Venetian fishing expertise, the spice trade of the Greeks, and Central European hardy agriculture, and blended them all together. Understanding why this diet is so nutritious requires looking past the pantry to examine the physical engineering happening over the fire. By breaking down the mechanics of two very different local cooking methods, we can reverse engineer a true blueprint for the Mediterranean diet. Let's start on the water. The Adriatic Sea is the engine of the coastal towns, and daily harvests from small-scale boats provide the primary source of protein. That fresh catch goes straight into a dish called brodette, a complex, slow-simmered fish stew that serves as the culinary anchor of the coast. The base requires whatever is pulled from the water that morning. Cooks rely heavily on a rotating mix of anchovies, sardines, and squid. Through centuries of maritime trade, Italian and Greek merchants introduced crops that thrived in the local soil. Soon, heavy doses of garlic and rich extra virgin olive oil pressed from local olive groves became the crucial binding agents for the dish. The catch is submerged in that oil and simmered at a low temperature, slowly fusing the tender seafood with imported spices like oregano and paprika. Historical maritime trade routes effectively assembled the nutritional profile of the coast, leaving behind a legacy of flavor that long outlasted the merchant ships. If we move inland, the environment changes rapidly. The coastal waters give way to the rugged, rocky terrain of the Dalmatian hinterland. Here, the climate demands a completely different approach to cooking. The answer is peka, a hearty stew of meat and vegetables built specifically for survival in the hills. The ingredients shift from delicate seafood to heavy proteins like beef or lamb, packed alongside locally grown tomatoes, peppers, as well as eggplant and fresh native sage leaves. The method of preparing it relies entirely on a piece of low-tech hardware. The ingredients are placed on a tray, covered with a heavy iron or clay dome, and then buried directly under the glowing coals of an open wood fire. Inside the dome, intense heat evaporates moisture from the vegetables. This steam hits the sealed lid and continuously rains back down over the meat. This thermodynamic loop operates for hours, breaking down connective tissue while preventing vitamins from boiling off. The rocky landscape demanded a cooking method that required minimal active supervision while extracting maximum calories. In solving that problem, the locals engineered a system for preserving human nutrition. Despite the stark differences in geography and ingredients, the coastal brodette and the inland peka are driven by the exact same underlying logic. Neither dish can be rushed. Both methods demand a mandatory hours-long waiting period while the heat slowly does its work. That built-in downtime establishes a strict rhythm for the day. It inherently forces a slower, deliberate pace, creating a natural structural barrier against high-stress living. And that leads directly to perhaps the most potent element of Dalmatian eating. The physical health benefits of the olive oil and steamed vegetables are heavily reinforced by the psychological benefits of how the food is actually consumed. These are large format meals, engineered by design to feed a crowd. The hours spent waiting for the food ensure that families and neighbors gather around a table to consume it together. Because the ingredients are pulled straight from the local nets and nearby dirt, the entire community stays synchronized with the seasonal rhythms of their specific environment. Maintaining this level of vitality depends on respecting local ingredients, embracing cultural exchange, and protecting the hours spent eating with others.